So let's go ahead and talk about inheritance, which is another feature that is very important in object-oriented programming. Okay, so classes are the basics or the building blocks, okay, of what we call of the object-oriented programming realm, if you will. So now that we have classes and we understand what classes are and how to create objects, we need to talk about inheritance. Now, again, because I like putting together analogies so that we can actually understand what's going on. When we talk about inheritance in the real world, often think of something that is passed down to us. For instance, your parents exist or existed. All of us had parents, one way or the other. And then something happens, which we don't need to go into those details because I believe you know what happens, what your parents did. You then showed up. Now, what happens, you inherited a lot of different characteristics from your parents. But most of the characteristics that you've inherited physically are characteristics that are the default characteristics, as well as characteristics that are not default characteristics. For instance, some people may argue that you can also inherit some sort of different kind of mannerisms or behaviors. We don't have to go all crazy about that. But the idea is that we inherit features from our parents. So had brown hair or had bigger noses or small noses. So all those features we do inherit from them to create us, in this case you. And then you, of course, find your mate and you create offsprings, in this case your children, and so forth. You notice that down the line we are continuously, as a human species, passing our features to the future humans. Passing down of features is what we call inheritance. Now there's the financial inheritance or the material inheritance that you can get. If your parents had a piece of land and they passed, or your grandparents, they pass, they pass it down to their child, which is your parents, and then they pass to you, or vice versa, and so forth. But the idea is that you're passing something down. Now, when it comes to programming, an object-oriented programming paradigm here, we have the same concept, which is the idea of creating classes in this hierarchy of classes and object is to foster an environment we don't have to create classes that repeat the same features. What that means is the following. For instance, if we have animal class, okay, the animal class would be a class that has all of the properties of what a general or what a default animal per se has, those features, right? And so what we can do then when we want to create another type of animal or a group of animals, in this case felines, we can inherit, because all the felines are animal. But felines is a group of type of animal with some extra specific features or attributes. And then inside of these felines, we can be more specific and create, for instance, cats or also tigers. So in this case, cats is of type felines, which is of type animal. So down the line, what's happening here, we are inheriting the basic default features of our parents. So felines is parents to cats and tigers in this case, which in return felines inherit a generic animal. But also we can say that a person, you and I, we are animals as well, aren't we? So we are part of the animal kingdom, which means we are animals. A different kind of animals though. We're not felines, but we are animals, which means we also inherit from our parent class, in this case would be an animal. So this hierarchy of classes here in objects allows us to have a very defined hierarchy, and as we define or refine all these features from each hierarchy, we are being more specific but not redundant. So this is one of the features of object-oriented programming, is that we can create a parent class and then all other classes that have similar features can inherit from the parent class. That way we don't have to redundantly create the same features as we create other classes and objects. Because remember, the creation of objects in memory is very expensive, so we need to minimize that. And one of the ways to minimize that is to take advantage of the inheritance capabilities of many object-oriented programming languages. That's what inheritance is in object-oriented programming.